What is good, everybody? It has arrived. It's finally here, the Akai MPK Mini Play Mark III. Let's check it out. I want to say real quick here at the top, I'm not going to be doing a comprehensive look at all of the sounds in the MPK Mini Play. I'm going to go over some of the fundamental functions of the MPK Mini Play, my likes, my dislikes, show off some of the sounds, and I'm going to be just trying to help out those people who might be a little confused with all these keyboards out there. Should you buy the MPK Mini Play? Hopefully by the end of this video, you'll have a better understanding. First things first, if any of you saw the promotional video for the Akai MPK Mini Play Mark III, you might have seen me in it, and that was a really amazing opportunity. It's actually like a lot of my goals coming into fruition, getting to work with Akai on a new product launch. I was not paid to make this video. I'm gonna speak completely freely and give you my honest opinion about this keyboard. I was paid to participate in the launch video, to compose the music and be in that video. So just that full disclosure right off the bat. I've worked with Akai for a while now. They supported my Beattober kind of charity thing that we had going on last October, and they've been a great partner for the channel in the past. So all that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the MPK Mini Play Mark III. So first of all, let me just show it to you in comparison to the MPK Mini Play Mark I, so you can see just what a difference. And it's not just an aesthetic difference. There are some really good improvements made to the overall build quality and the overall functionality of the keyboard. And to put this into perspective, the Akai MPK Mini Play, the original version, came out before the latest iteration of the regular MPK Mini, a keyboard that does not have built-in sounds. What they did with the MPK Mini Mark III was improve the pads. These are just actual MPC pads. Improved the keybed, added some endless encoders, and just overall improved the build quality of the keyboard. Now, obviously, the old MPK Mini Play didn't feature any of that. It's very much the old design of the MPKs. However, with the MPK Mini Play Mark III, it's brought up to the year 2022 in terms of its design. We have actual MPC pads. These are very high quality pads, great for finger drumming. And the keybed is upgraded in line with the new Akai MPK Mini Mark III. It features a slightly different footprint design, I guess you could say, in comparison to the proper MPK Mini Mark III, in that it's got a little bit of a, what do you call that? A tilt to it. It's kind of not that noticeable when it's sitting on the desk, but I guess the ergonomics of looking at this section of the keyboard kind of just facing forward toward you slightly is actually pretty nice. This does not feature the endless encoders of the Akai MPK Mini Mark III. These are just proper knobs with start and end points, as you can see by this white line here. This knob is indeed an endless encoder. However, this knob is to function with selecting sounds and selecting different parameters on the device's screen. The speaker seems to be a bit bigger, though I don't know if it's much of an improvement in sound. And while the previous iteration required 3 AA batteries, this iteration requires 4. And the fact that it needs batteries, if you're unfamiliar, is a big hint at what makes this keyboard different than a lot of the other mini MIDI keyboards out on the market. And I already alluded to this, but this keyboard has built-in sounds. You can take this thing out and about with you and play music wherever you're at through the built-in speaker. And of course, it also has a headphone port on the back, so you don't have to disturb everybody on the train or in the park or on the bus around you. You could also run this to a speaker if you wanted, or I'm going to be running it to my interface just to get the sound to play out through my computer for the purposes of this video. While we're here, you also see the sustain port, the USB port, in addition to the switch, which takes us from either battery or USB power. So my favorite thing about the new MPK Mini Play is definitely the improvements to the build quality, the pads and the keys, and the overall design. The biggest room for improvement that the Akai MPK Mini Play Mark III has is in its sound selection. Let me plug this in so you can actually hear it. And some of these sounds are actually pretty good. However, I think, as far as I can tell, that this is pretty much the same sound set as the MPK Mini Play Mark 1, which is kind of disappointing because this is a collection of general MIDI sounds. Basically, any keyboard you go out and buy, any beginner keyboard, comes with the same selection, the same sound set, basically. But I talked about this in a previous video with the MPK Mini Play Mark 1. One of the best things that Akai did was give us the ability to change and alter the sounds in different ways. So if you notice on the knobs, we have a few labels here. We also have the ability to control page 1 and page 2 of the knob. So for the first round here, we can adjust the filter, the resonance of that filter, the reverb amount, and the chorus amount. So even if you didn't like a particular sound, you could at least get it to sound different, maybe closer to what you want it to sound like. And I find that its strength is in taking some of these more electronic sounds and altering them to get them to sound a bit more natural and take away some of the things that make them sound, I guess, less high quality. Because for some of the sounds that are supposed to be, you know, sampled instruments, for instance, if we take like acoustic guitar, it's actually not a bad acoustic guitar sound. But playing an acoustic guitar sound on a keyboard tends to usually sound unnatural. And then you get into sounds like, I don't know, even the cello. Some of that little natural vibrato, I don't know. Some of it doesn't sound perfectly natural. But when you do things like, now let's go into the second set of parameters on the knob, adjust the attack. Adjust the release. I don't think I'm doing well at making it sound more like a real cello, but at least I have this ability to have this control. Then we have EQ low, which I think these EQ knobs give us the ability to give a little bit of a boost to either the low or the highs. I'm not sure if it's doing a shelf. If it's not doing a shelf and it's doing a roll off, that seems sort of redundant with the filter. But nonetheless, we do have the ability to adjust the filter and essentially the attack and release of the amp envelope of the sounds, as well as add reverb and chorus. So that's really, really cool. There are, of course, drum sounds built into this as well. And you might be saying that snare would sound a lot better with the reverb turned down. But as you can see, the reverb is on 0. And the reason it's on 0, but we're still hearing reverb, is because the reverb is only affecting the instruments. It's not affecting the drums. So we actually don't have the ability to add the effects to the drums, it seems, which means we don't have the ability to take it away. And there are only 10 drum kits. These are, I believe, the same drum kits on the MPK Mini Play Mark 1, which is, again, the most disappointing part of the device. But I don't want to sound too negative. This still is one of the only mini MIDI keyboards that comes with built-in sounds, and that does give it a leg up on the competition. I could still have fun with some of these sounds. This is the kalimba sound. And we could even have more fun if we turn on the arpeggiator. Which we can, of course, make adjustments to by holding the on-off button and change things like the timing. These are all labeled right above the keys. So we go to 8th notes, all the way up to 32nd note triplets. And then we can, of course, change the direction. Let's change it to down. We can add octaves. And we can even adjust the swing. So we haven't even connected this thing to a computer yet, which is how I would probably use it most of the time, but we are still able to have some fun with the built-in sounds. It is capable in the way that it has an arpeggiator where you can tap the tempo and you have some control over, and we can make adjustments to those sounds. We can also do things like save favorites. So anytime I want to load up that kalimba preset from Bright Piano, I can just recall that right away. That's really, really handy. And I said this in a previous video, but I think I might end up using this a lot with my SP404 Mark II, which has an audio input and I can very easily sample from. So I could play some chords or melodies in and sample them on that machine on the go to have a totally DAW-less setup. For other people, if you say play in a band or if you're doing any type of live performance where you don't need a full keyboard or you very specifically don't want to bring your computer on stage, you just need some simple sounds, maybe a few synths, a lead sound here and there or whatnot, the MPK Mini Play would work really well for you. And there's no true good enough alternatives unless maybe you were going to plug your phone in on stage and use an app or something. Now, this all being said, I basically just talked about the standalone functionality of the keyboard. Oh, I didn't mention, we've also got the pitch bend and modulation on the joystick. But I'm not a huge fan of that, obviously. But we can plug this thing in via USB, and it will function just as well. Let's just flip it over to USB mode. And it functions just as well as any of the other MPKs with our DAW. So, I mean, I have a very basic project loaded here. And that's great. And one other function on the pads here is the full level option. So this will make it so that no matter how hard I hit the pads or soft, it will play them at their full velocity. Turn that off, and hopefully you can see that on the screen there. It's actually giving you a readout of what velocity value you're sending. So how hard you're hitting that pad value from 0 to 127. There's also a note repeat function here. I still have the, it adjusts to the arpeggiator's settings. So I still have this swing enabled too. There we go. If you want to see me performing and playing with the Akai MPK Mini Play, you can check out the official Akai video, which is really cool that that's even a thing. But I did compose that track using the MPK Mini Play, and I even included some of the built-in sounds within that track. And I think they blended quite well with some of the, normal sounds that I would use in my productions, from plugins that I use. Your question is probably, should you get the regular MPK Mini Mark III or the MPK Mini Play? And it's really up to you, but if anything I said about the internal built-in sounds appealing to you, whether you're going to use it with a sampler, whether you might want to just use it for sitting around and maybe practicing scales, maybe you're watching my music theory series, or just anything about having built-in internal sounds and a headphone jack and a speaker. If that all sounds cool to you, you should probably just get the MPK Mini Play. If that doesn't matter at all to you, just go with the proper MPK if you don't care about internal sounds and you're only going to use sounds from your computer and your DAW. The only thing you really lose by getting the MPK Mini Play instead of the MPK Mini is endless encoders, and you lose 4 of them essentially, because this only has 4 knobs here, and you have the bank of 8, which sometimes works nicely with DAWs like in Ableton's macros. They're automatically set to 8, so that works really well. And like I said, these are knobs, not endless encoders. So that's the only real trade-off there, but I have a feeling it's something that most people could live without, and it's not huge make or break. So what do you all think of the new MPK Mini Play? That was a quick breakdown for you. If you want to see more, I will probably use this in a future live stream. So make sure you subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on. You can come and ask me anything in chat. Let me know if you're thinking about picking this one up. And just on a personal note, I want to say that the folks that I worked with at Akai are like so great. Shout out to Jimmy over there. He's really, really awesome. He actually came to LA and did this shoot with this crew. These 3 dudes that were in this crew that came and did this shoot here were so nice. Everything about the experience was awesome. I go from having just myself and a camera in a room to having like a bunch of people with cameras and big equipment like around me, and it's like totally different. So it can at first feel a little uncomfortable, but those people were all so nice, and they made such an amazing video out of it. So shout out to Akai and that team over there. That was really awesome and really fun. And hopefully I'll be able to do more with them in the future. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up on your way out. Like I said, make sure you're subscribed with notifications turned on. Let me know what you think in the comments. And that's going to be it. This has been TAETRO. Have a good one.